How you doing, Bruin fans? Todd Reeves here with your UCLA Daily Report. Glad you joined me on this Tuesday, March 31st, 2026, the last day of March until we get into April and all the good things that brings, including a Final Four, a transfer portal opening and closing, and we're going to have spring practice too. So we got a bunch of things going on in April as we close out March here. But I want to do a little bit different thing today as far as the show goes. Once again, thank you for joining me on the UCLA Daily Report, part of the Fan Arch Network. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. I'm going to say it every time. And also, don't forget to leave a comment down below. I've gotten some comments. I've read them over, read them all the comments. So I appreciate it. Positive and negative. I don't have a problem with that. And there was a couple things reading over the comments that I wanted to at least address a little bit. And that is, let's make my comments or my opinions made clear here. We're going to start with Mick Cronin. Some people might think I'm a hater. Some people think I'm too lenient on him. That's fine. I'm just trying to present the case and then have you guys decide whether to keep Mick Cronin or maybe it's time for him to seek another job in UCLA, get someone else. So, my opinion on Mick Cronin is this. Do I think he's a good coach? Absolutely. I don't think that is even an argument to be made. The guy can coach basketball as good as most people in the country. The problem is he good enough to bring UCLA a championship? What's his ceiling? I mean, that's really the question because yeah, it's nice to win, conference championships, which is going to be harder in the Big Ten. There's just no doubt about it than it was in the Pac-12. And the other thing too is, is a Final Four good enough? Ben Hallen went to three straight Final Fours and eventually wore out his welcome. Is Mick Cronin on that same path? He did go to one Final Four, but again, my question with that Final Four is it was a COVID year. It was a strange year. You didn't have to leave the city of Indianapolis. All the games were there. You were in the same hotel. You didn't have to travel. And let's face facts. I take sample size as of great importance when it comes to judging teams. And that UCLA team squeaked into the tournament. I mean, they lost in the Pac-12 tournament in Vegas to an Oregon State team that was not very good, had to win to get in. They did, and then they made a run as well. But again, the sample size was UCLA was a play-in team that year. Yeah, they got hot for 5, 6 games and went on a run, but is that enough? Like, I think people overrate tournament runs. I do. I think you got to take the seasons in their entirety. And again, Cronin has only finished in the top 25 at the end of the year twice in his tenure, in his 7 years. Now, one of them doesn't really count because his first year at UCLA was the COVID year where they canceled everything. So there's that. But to me, I'm leaning that they should get rid of him. I'm about 60-40. I totally understand them keeping him. I hope he does very, very well in the near future. I hope he gets a good team and makes a run to the Final Four and eventually wins a championship. That's what we're looking for. But do I think he's the guy to do it? No, I don't. I think he can maybe get us to a Final Four, but can he get us to the top of the mountain? No. I think there's a limit to him. Now, I've also heard the comments is who else you're going to get. I mean, come on, it's UCLA. UCLA is going to have a bunch of good candidates to pick from. I mean, the last time they had an opening, I mean, John Calipari, it took everything for him not to leave Kentucky. And there was also Rick Barnes at Tennessee, who, was very much persuaded to go to UCLA and almost did it. There's going to be a big name out there that will look forward to the challenge. I mean, UCLA is one of those blue bloods, and they know that you can win at UCLA at the highest level. So that's that. And also, well, okay, we don't get one of the bigger names. Well, maybe there's a Tommy Lloyd out there. UCLA has to do, a good job of, looking at these guys, seeing what the candidate field is and making the best choice. I mean, it seems like they did a good job with the football position, so maybe they can do that again. That's just my opinion on it. Obviously, The results haven't been what you'd like under Mick Cronin, but he also has the excuse of injuries. The few years of devastating injuries at the end of the year, the Jalen Clark, the Adem Bona. I mean, those were huge injuries that were late in the season that derailed them from going as far as they really could have. And of course, there was this year with Tyler Bilodeau losing your best player in the middle of the Big Ten tournament. But the thing is these games played at the end of the year. I mean, injuries can happen at any time. I mean, Sky Clark hurt his hamstring at the beginning of the year. So there's also, you can add that injury to it. But injuries are part of the game and results matter whether you're injured or not. UCLA is not just going to forfeit away the Big 12 tournament because they fear that they might get a player or two injured in one of those games and then, just move on to the NCAA tournament and skip the Big 12 tournament entirely. It's not happening. So you just got to play the season out, and at some point, luck has to be on your side. You know, one of these teams that maybe has a shot at a national championship or at least a Final Four is not going to have a key injury, and then we'll see what happens. There's not going to be injuries every single season. So that's my thoughts on Mick Cronin. Do I think he's a good coach? Yes. Can he develop players though over many, many years? That's been one of his issues as well. His teams get better throughout the season, and his players get better from freshman, sophomore, junior, senior years. Yes, he develops them well. But is that the system you can run nowadays when every player is a free agent after every single season? It's debatable, let's say, because you don't know if Cronin's going to have every player for 3 to 4 years. A lot of these guys will transfer out or leave early. Again, on the other side, you could say UCLA keeps all the guys they want, except for one big exception, and that's Ademara, who's now at Michigan. But everyone else that has left the program, UCLA really didn't do a whole lot to keep them. So I mean, in that respect, UCLA is keeping their guys. If they can keep Trent Perry, they've had Sky Clark for a couple of years. They had Tyler Bilodeau for a couple of years. If Eric Daly comes back, this will be his third year in the program. So, we talked about Eric Freeney. Looks like he's coming back. So this will be his third year in the program. So Cronin's doing pretty good job keeping these guys, and he does develop them. But we're looking for, some big time players, and that was supposed to be the case with Donovan Dent. It just didn't turn out that way. And that's another strike against Cronin, is the fact that these recruits and these transfers that he's brought in who have been counted on heavily have really disappointed. I mean, you could say Bilodeau has been fine, but the other ones, Eric Daly, he's all right. He's okay, but he's not going to lead you to a championship. Xavier Booker was kind of disappointing, but you kind of knew what you were getting with him before the season, and he pretty much delivered what you were expecting. So there was that. And then Donovan Dent was a just major disappointment. Is he a good player? Absolutely. When he was playing well, was he one of the top point guards in the country? Absolutely. But the problem was he very rarely played up to his potential during the season. Maybe if he had another season, maybe he would be phenomenal under Mick Cronin in his second year, but that's not happening. He's out of eligibility, so he won't be back. So that's the thing, is that I think UCLA, when you talk about the roster, I think maybe the key issue is they got to find absolute studs. They got to find stars one way or another in the transfer portal. And so far they haven't. I mean, they've gotten good players. Derek Daly's a good player. He's not a great player. Tyler Bilodeau's a good player, but when your best player is third team in the Big Ten Conference, all Big Ten, I mean, that's not good enough when you're talking about UCLA. It's just not. That means the talent level's down when your best player is third team. I mean, again, I have no complaints on Tyler Bilodeau. None. Zero. I think he did exactly what he came in to do. I think he was a phenomenal player, and I think he did a nice job. The problem is the talent around him wasn't top notch enough. Now, again, you expected that with Dent, but it didn't happen. So when I looked back, when I looked about a year ago last summer, and I looked at the transfers being brought in and the people UCLA were losing, it was kind of, reshuffling the decks on a Titanic. Not that the Bruins were sinking, but I thought, you know what, this team doesn't seem any better than it was last year. And you look at the results, And that's what it was. They were a 7 seed and a 7 seed, and they lost in the second round to a 2 seed who was much better than them, and they lost by double digits. And part of that is the lack of talent on the roster. They need to develop top end talent. Could Trent Perry be that? Possibly. I don't think he will be. I think he's a good player. Again, I think he's better than Daly. Is he going to be better than Bilodeau? Maybe, maybe next year, but I'm not sure. I think you need either a star five, center, a star five, or a star three, which is a small forward. I think you need an absolute stud. I mean, you look at the teams in the Final Four in the conference this year. When you look at Illinois, they brought in some European players to, solidify their front court. They played very well. They got size. They got good size. They play defense. They rebound, and they can shoot a little bit. They do it all. And then, there's also Andrei Stojakovic, who many UCLA fans may know as the guy who has kind of spurned them twice. He went to uh, Cal and Stanford, and then on his way to Illinois, and you know, didn't didn't I don't know how much he really gave UCLA a chance, or did UCLA really recruit him? But now he's on a Final Four team. And then there was Boswell, who came from Arizona, and then you mix in an absolute stud, like I'm talking Keaton Wagler, the freshman. That's somebody the Bruins need to be on their team. The best player for UCLA next year cannot be on the roster right now. He has to be a new player, and you'd hope it'd be two. Like the two best players are not on this roster right now. If that happens and they get two of their best players in the next few weeks or month, then UCLA could be looking at a Final Four. But if you're just getting Eric Daly types, Xavier Booker types in the transfer portal this year, this team's going to struggle just to reach the level they got to this year, which again is a 7 seed. And, probably another loss in the second round unless they somehow get lucky. Uh, 2 years ago, or, the UCLA didn't have any injuries. They had injuries this year. Last year or whatever, when they lost to Tennessee and were a 7 seed, I don't believe there are any injuries. So that was not an excuse. So we'll see what happens with the roster. Long way to go, but we'll see. Everything that happens, again, we everything's in flux, and we'll see how everything goes from here. Let's move on to football. And ESPN has this ESPN SP Plus prediction formula that they come up with. It's Bill Connolly. He has 4 factors. Let me read them to you. Returning production, recent history, recent recruiting, and coaching change effects. Those are the 4 aspects they look into. And UCLA in their first rankings came out at 46 overall in the country, 12th in the Big Ten, which not so great. They were just behind Minnesota, who was 45th. They were just ahead of Arkansas, who was right behind them, and then the next team behind them from the Big Ten was Northwestern at 49. So obviously, the recent history and recent recruiting probably not going to get top marks on those when it comes to UCLA, but coaching change effects, I'm sure, is a big plus. And returning production, because that also includes transfers. So they've got a lot of production coming in as far as transfers go, especially from James Madison. So 46 seems kind of low to me. I think UCLA should get a little bit more respect than that, maybe around 35 to 40. But who knows? We got to play the games. And by the way, Cal, I believe, is in the mid 50s. That's where UCLA opens. I believe they're at 55 or 56. So UCLA, I guess, according to ESPN Plus, is favored to win that game. But it's preseason predictions in March, and you can take them with a grain of salt. That's what I do. So, I mean, ESPN or whoever can predict a certain record or certain whatever for UCLA, but you don't know. There's too many factors, especially when you talk about injuries. You never know what's going to end up happening. So we'll see what happens there. But I wanted to close up shop by talking about, again, women's basketball. Congratulations to Coach Corey Close and all the Bruins for making the Final Four for the second straight year. But and I was looking at some highlights, and I saw a nice UCLA crowd there in Sacramento for it. So I was hoping, thinking, maybe there'll be a nice big crowd for UCLA in Phoenix. I mean, it's close and it's not too hard to get there from LA. So UCLA fans can make the short journey to Phoenix. I did see some watch parties out there. So if you have a watch party and you want me to shout it out, I will. Just put it in the comments down below. But from the ones I saw, there's an UCLA alumni organization that is having a watch party at Tom's Watch Bar in Phoenix, and you have to you RSVP, pay for a ticket, and then do a little pregame at the bar, and then you walk over to the arena. It's walkable distance for the semifinal game on Friday. There's also, I know people are trying to get the Cosm, the big place in Inglewood that has the 80-foot screen, 8K, and it looks like you're immersed right under the basket watching the game. It's a fabulous place. I've never been there, but from all the videos I've seen online, it's great. So I know there's some people trying to organize some Bruins to go there and watch it, and they're going to have the game. So go to Cosm.com. It's in Inglewood by SoFi Stadium. You can go there and watch the Bruins. And then I saw the Latino Bruins on Instagram. I'm going to shout them out. They had a watch party for the Elite Eight game against Duke. So I assume they'll have one for the Final Four as well. And again, it's nice to get Bruin fans all in one place, especially for a Final Four situation like the women's team is in on Friday in Phoenix. So should be a fun time for the Bruins this week. And we'll talk more football, men's basketball, maybe some Final Four. We got spring football, don't forget, right around the corner. So we'll talk to you then. All right, Bruins, have a good day, and we'll talk to you soon. Goodbye.